At Nexora Dynamics, CEO Mark Ellison decided to go undercover as an intern, hoping to understand his employees' struggles. But when he found himself without money in the company cafeteria, it was an unexpected act of kindness from a janitor that set everything into motion. A single crumpled dollar changed Mark's perspective, leading him to question the true meaning of leadership. What began as a simple gesture would soon unravel a deeper mystery about the real force driving success at Nexora, one Mark never saw coming. Welcome to Limelight Tales. Can one act of kindness change everything? Find out how a CEO's undercover journey reshapes leadership at Nexora. Mark Ellison, the CEO of Nexora Dynamics, had spent years building his company into a titan of renewable energy. Specializing in cutting-edge solar panels and wind turbines, Nexora was a leader in sustainable innovation. The company's sleek headquarters reflected its forward-thinking ethos. But beneath the polished exterior, murmurs of employee dissatisfaction reached Mark's ears. Many felt unappreciated, overworked, and disconnected from the lofty goals set by their CEO. Mark, who had always believed in leading from the top, realized he had lost touch with the people who formed the backbone of his company. Determined to reconnect, he devised a bold plan. He would go undercover as a new intern. Disguising himself with casual clothes, a fake name, Mike Harris, and a carefully crafted backstory, Mark stepped into the world of his employees. For the first time in years, he experienced life as a regular worker in his own company. His tasks varied daily, from shadowing the customer service team to working in the solar panel assembly line. It was exhausting, eye-opening work. He saw firsthand the long hours, the pressure to meet deadlines, and the small frustrations employees faced daily, many of which never reached his executive suite. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling morning on the production floor, Mark headed to the company cafeteria. The line was long and the air buzzed with chatter as employees exchanged stories and laughs. By the time he reached the counter, Mark realized with a sinking feeling that he had forgotten his wallet. He patted his pockets, double-checked his bag, and even glanced around as if hoping someone might magically hand him the money. Embarrassed and unsure of what to do, he started to step aside. "Hey, need some help?" A voice interrupted his thoughts. Mark turned to see Charlie, the company janitor. Charlie was an older man, probably in his early 60s, with silver hair and a kind smile. His uniform was well worn, and his hands bore the marks of years of labor. Charlie reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled dollar bill. "Here you go," he said, holding it out to Mark. "It's not much, but it should cover what you need." Mark blinked, caught off guard by the gesture. "I can't take this," he said, shaking his head. "You don't even know me." Charlie chuckled. "Doesn't matter. Everyone needs a hand sometimes. Just pay it forward when you can." Reluctantly, Mark accepted the dollar and bought his lunch. As he sat down at a corner table, he couldn't help but watch Charlie. The janitor returned to his work, moving from table to table with a quiet efficiency. He greeted everyone he passed, exchanged jokes with some, and even stopped to help a young employee clean up a spilled drink. The simplicity of the act left Mark unsettled. A man who likely earned less in a month than Mark spent on a single business dinner had just given away his last dollar without hesitation. What drove someone to be so selfless? Over the next few days, Mark couldn't shake the image of Charlie and his unassuming kindness. He started asking around about him, learning that Charlie had been with Nexora for over 20 years. Despite his modest earnings, he was known for his generosity. He shared food with co-workers who forgot their lunches, covered shifts for those who needed time off, and even lent money to those in tight spots, always with the same philosophy: Life was hard enough without a little kindness to smooth the way. Mark began spending more time with Charlie, striking up casual conversations during breaks. Through these talks, he learned that Charlie was raising 2 grandchildren on his own after his daughter passed away. His wife had died years earlier, leaving him as the sole provider for his family. Yet Charlie never complained. He simply did what needed to be done, finding joy in helping others along the way. For Mark, the contrast was striking. Here he was, a man who controlled millions of dollars and oversaw a global enterprise. And yet, he had grown detached from the struggles and triumphs of the people who made his company thrive. Charlie's simple act of kindness had opened a door, allowing Mark to see the humanity behind the job titles and paychecks. Mark found himself drawn deeper into the life of his company in ways he never anticipated. As he continued his undercover journey, Charlie became a quiet guide, offering insights about the people and the culture of Nexora Dynamics without even realizing it. Charlie's conversations were peppered with stories about his coworkers, the single mother working overtime to save for her child's education, the technician who dreamed of starting his own business, and the warehouse worker taking night classes to pursue a degree. Through these stories, Mark began to see the heart of Nexora Dynamics, the lives it touched, and the aspirations it quietly supported. He realized how far removed he had become from the struggles and dreams of his employees. While he had always believed his innovations in renewable energy were enough to make a difference in the world, he now understood that creating a company where people felt valued and supported was just as important. One evening, Mark stayed late, helping out on the production floor to meet a tight deadline. As the hours stretched on, he noticed Charlie still working, meticulously cleaning the spaces others had long abandoned for the night. After finishing his tasks, Charlie sat down on a bench with a sigh, pulling out a simple sandwich from his bag. Mark approached him and sat down. "You're still here?" he asked. Charlie smiled. "Someone's got to make sure this place shines for the morning crew. Besides, I like the quiet after hours. Gives me time to think." Mark hesitated for a moment before asking, "Charlie, why do you do it? All this kindness? Helping people? Giving away what little you have?" Charlie took a bite of his sandwich and chewed thoughtfully. "I've been on the other side of things, kid," he said finally. "There were times when I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. Back then, a stranger's kindness could feel like a miracle. I figured if I ever got the chance, I'd be that miracle for someone else." The simplicity and depth of Charlie's words struck Mark to his core. It wasn't just about the dollar bill, it was about the mindset, the choice to be a force for good in a world that could often feel harsh and indifferent. As the weeks passed, Mark continued his undercover role, but his perspective shifted. He paid closer attention to the small details, the worn-out chairs in the break room, the lack of recognition for hard work, and the struggles his employees faced that often went unnoticed by upper management. When his stint as Mike Harris finally came to an end, Mark returned to his role as CEO with a renewed purpose. The experience had changed him. He called for an all-staff meeting, where he revealed his true identity and shared the story of his time as an intern. He spoke about the incredible people he had met, the challenges they faced, and the spirit of generosity exemplified by Charlie. "This company isn't just about renewable energy," Mark said. "It's about people, your stories, your struggles, and your triumphs. And it's my job to make sure Nexora Dynamics is a place where you feel valued, supported, and inspired." As part of the changes, Mark announced a series of new initiatives: higher wages, improved benefits, and a fund to assist employees in times of need. He also established a recognition program named Charlie's Legacy, honoring employees who went above and beyond to support their coworkers. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere at Nexora began to shift. Employees felt a renewed sense of pride in their work and a deeper connection to the company. Charlie, meanwhile, was given a promotion and a heartfelt thank you in front of the entire staff. For Mark, the transformation was personal as well as professional. He no longer viewed success solely in terms of profits and market share. Instead, he measured it in the smiles of his employees, the stories they shared, and the impact Nexora Dynamics had on their lives. And every time he passed Charlie in the hallways, he couldn't help but smile, reminded of the simple act of kindness that had changed everything. Mark stood before the gathered employees of Nexora Dynamics, a hush falling over the room. He shared his journey as Mike, revealing the lessons he'd learned and how one quiet janitor had reshaped his understanding of leadership. When he finished, Mark turned to Charlie, who was seated near the front. "Charlie, you reminded me of something I'd forgotten," Mark said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "The greatest impact we can have is not through grand gestures, but through the small, consistent acts that lift others up. That's what builds a company, a community, and a legacy." The room erupted into applause as Charlie stood, visibly overwhelmed. Mark announced the creation of Charlie's Legacy, a program to honor employees who embodied generosity and support, ensuring Charlie's spirit would live on in Nexora's culture. Years later, as Nexora Dynamics thrived, its success wasn't just in innovations or profits, but in the lives it changed. True progress, it turned out, was measured by how deeply you valued the humanity in those around you. A lesson Mark carried with him, $1 at a time. Thank you for watching Limelight Tales. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help us bring more exciting tales to life. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that leadership can come from the most unexpected places, and watch them discover the hidden power of kindness.